shift any faster inside the space station, but if we took it outside into open space, like on my spacewalk, it would almost instantaneously vaporize. Presently, for operations on board the International Space Station, we ride to the International Space Station on board a Soyuz rocket launching from Kazakhstan, and then we return again to Kazakhstan when our mission is over. Well, I just so happen to be a medical doctor by training, and so if I cut myself, I probably would, well, if any of my crewmates cut themselves, I would help them. I would probably be the logical person for them to go to. If I cut myself, my crewmates are also trained to assist with such injuries like that. And so we all help each other, and there's no requirement to have a doctor on board, but we just so happen to right now. It seems like I dream like I do on Earth. Sleep is very good up here. It's very comfortable because your body doesn't require to move around. Without the absence of gravity, you don't shift positions as much as you do lying in a bed. And for that reason, I sleep well, and I sleep and dream normally. If we were in deep space, it would theoretically go on forever and ever. If you went outside of the space station and you kicked it, it would also take off in its own direction, but it basically would stay in orbit around the Earth, just like the International Space Station. I definitely dreamed about going to space when I was a child. I also aspired and very much looked up to astronauts. And no, I'm not disappointed at all. I get to work with wonderful people, and we have a wonderful job up here on the space station, but also a wonderful job back on Earth representing our space agency, our country, and the International Space Station. Well, as you can imagine, it's extremely exciting, but we receive years and years of training before we get to that point. So most astronauts describe themselves as very calm up to that point, and then when that rocket starts to accelerate, and we feel the forces of that rocket accelerating faster and faster, we get very excited. I think I would add another module. Having more and more space up here is always exciting. Right now it's about the size of a house that had about 5 bedrooms, so it's plenty of space for 6 people, but if we had more, it would be even more fun. Actually, the only way that I would know that we were moving is when I look out the window and I see us traveling over the Earth. But if I don't look outside the window, the space station is extremely stable and there's no perception of motion at all. But in fact, we're traveling at 17,500 miles an hour. Well, just like airplanes on the ground are helped by air traffic control to prevent them from colliding with one another, we have extensive ground teams that keep track of where satellites are and where the International Space Station is and make sure that they deconflict that at all times. And if we ever needed to perform a maneuver, we can fire thrusters and change our orbit slightly to avoid a collision. first impressions looking back at the Earth were no concerns in terms of I felt very, very happy to be looking back at my home planet. It's such a beautiful planet. But the concerns I do have is that when I do look down at the Earth, I can see evidence that we as human beings do have an impact on our planet that we can see from space. There's clear evidence when we look down at it. Well, certainly the planet that we see best is Earth. It fills the windows that we look out. But we also see the moon, which is a satellite, of course, of the Earth that we can see occasionally. But one of my crewmates was able to pull out binoculars, and we were able to look at Jupiter recently. And without looking through the atmosphere, it's much clearer with much less powerful binoculars. And we were even able to see the moons of Jupiter orbiting around it. We are actually growing plants right now on board the International Space Station. We're growing mustard greens, and we would be interested in growing anything that we could potentially eat, which would be a very important capability for us to go deeper and deeper into space and eventually go on to the moon and to Mars to provide fresh food for astronauts that are in space for a long period of time. Bravo 4, Bravo Papa Sierra, this is November Alpha 1 Sierra Sierra. To the Bampton School, it's been a pleasure to talk to you. I think we're losing contact. Out.